Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I'm going to be answering your questions all about Prepper Pantry. So Prepper Pantry has been all the craze recently. It's called several things: a dry food storage, emergency food storage, Prepper Pantry. Whatever you call it in your house is what it is. It is very popular and getting more popular, I feel like, day to day. People are realizing how important it is to stock up for their family. So over on YouTube, on here, and on Instagram, I had asked if you had any questions for me about Prepper Pantry related, anything. So I have wrote them down here. There's not that many, but honestly, I feel like I have touched on everything over the past month. I will have my playlist linked down below, all about my emergency food storage Prepper Pantry. I'll have that playlist linked so y'all can check out all of the older videos in case you're just hopping on and seeing this for the first time. So over the past month, I have shared a ton about preparing for your family, and it's not to scare you. I hope that y'all don't think that it's to scare you. It's just to educate you on how important it is to have food stock and all that for your family. It doesn't just have to be food. But this past month, my base was food. So I just wrote these down, not in any order at all. And if I skipped a question, or if you still have a question after today's video, just comment down below and I will answer it in the comments so that way everybody can see it and get my answer. So a few comments I got was how much to stock up per person. That's going to depend on how much your family eats and how long you're wanting stock for. So for us, the amount of food that I have here, if I just focused on dry foods, we have about a month of breakfast, lunch, and dinners. That's it. My goal is to get 2 months. I feel like 2 months is a really good stock up amount. Some people might think it needs to be more. Some people might just think I'm crazy in general, and that's fine. But for our family and for like what I've researched and stuff, I really feel like 2 months is a pretty good basis to have for dry food storage. Now, I've mentioned before that I do have freezer stock, but right now my main goal is to stock up on just pantry shelf-stable items, because if the electricity goes out, you're going to lose that. Unless you have a generator, which that's another question. We'll talk about that in a second. So let me go back to saying how much per person. So it's really just going to depend on how much your family eats. So say you're a family of 4 and you eat like 1 can of corn, or say you eat like 2 cans of corn a week. And if you're wanting to have a month's worth of corn put back, then, you know, that's like 8 cans. So that's the way you kind of can divide it up and figure out how much your family needs based on what you eat. And one of the things I talk about all the time is stock what your family is going to eat. It's very, very important. Don't go out and buy foods that you know your family's not going to eat, because it's just going to sit there and it's just going to go to waste. Like for us, we hate canned chicken. Hate canned chicken. It's not in my Prepper Pantry. I do not have a can of canned chicken back here at all because we don't like it. So that's one of the things I've said before, is make sure you stock what your family's going to eat. So like I said, it's just going to depend on how much your family eats, how often they eat, or how often they eat that item, and how long you're wanting to prepare for. If you're just wanting a month's stock, then just focus on a month. If you're wanting 2 months, then focus on 2 months. It's just going to depend. And then actually over on TikTok, I had somebody comment on a video saying that I was stocking wrong and that I needed to vacuum seal everything, take everything out of cardboard boxes, out of the bags, like the bags of rice or the bags of beans. They were saying that I was doing it wrong and that I needed to vacuum seal everything. I don't agree with that, and here's why. The food I have stocked back here, I rotate and I use. throughout the year. It's not just going to sit back here behind me and we not use it until a case of an emergency. We use this food, we rotate it. I have an everyday pantry, and once stuff gets low in there, I pull from here, and then what I restock at the grocery, I put back in here. So we are constantly rotating canned veggies, constantly rotating rice, pasta, etc. So I don't feel like you need to go into that step of vacuum sealing everything, taking everything out of cardboard boxes, because we're using it. Now, if you only wanted to have stock just for emergencies, then maybe you might need to do that step just to help with freshness, staleness, all that kind of sense. But I personally feel like if you're going to have a prepper pantry and stock like this, you should use it. Take advantage of it, use it, and then just restock it as you use it. So I feel like it just depends on how you run your prepper pantry. So for us, I don't think we need to do that. I'm perfectly fine with leaving stuff in cardboard boxes with what packages it is in, because it's not sitting on the shelf. We rotate it first in, first out. I consider my storage short term because we do use it. Like I said, if you don't plan on using it, if you want to buy food that you just have for emergencies, then yeah, you might. But I consider my stock up short term because we do rotate it and we do use it throughout the year. Next question, where to store? I've got this question a ton on here, and I have kind of mentioned it a little bit before. So if you don't have the room like I do to have a shelf like this, if you're comfortable with having a shelf in your living room, then do it. It doesn't, to me, it's not going to matter if it's an eyesore, if you have company over and they're like, oh, why do you have a shelf of food in your living room? Girl, because I'm prepared. I'm prepared. I have stock and I have food for my family. That's exactly how I would handle that. And if I walked into somebody's house and they had food, I would be like, yes, girl, you are ready. Because I'm so passionate about it. It's crazy. But if you don't have that space for a shelf and you aren't comfortable with having it in an open area, then you can buy totes, like the big totes. You can get them at Sam's Club, or you can get them at Walmart, and just put your food in the totes. And if you purchase the, I've touched on this before, but if you purchase the $5 stock up sheets, it comes with a pantry inventory. And so what you could do is you can write everything that's in that tote, write it on the sheet, tape it to the top, and then you know what's in there. And then you can mark it off or rotate as you use it. You can even get the under the bed totes and the rolly cart ones. Do the same thing. Label it what's all in it, put it under your bed, and it's hidden away. If you have a random closet that just has coats hanging in it, put you a shelf behind the coats. If you have enough room, hide your food in there. Get creative. Like I said, I would rather be safe than sorry in any situation. This doesn't have to be for emergency situations. What if you have a low income week, barely getting food on the table? I can easily come in here and shop the pantry and just worry about getting like the fresh dairy, the fresh produce, stuff like that, to make a full meal than having to go to the store and having to purchase everything. So I feel like it's very important for anybody. And like I've said before, it doesn't matter if you're one person or if you're 10. You need to have some sort of stock up. Okay, so don't be afraid to store it wherever you got room. Next is expiration dates. So I've touched on this before. I have had a couple people ask about expiration dates again, so I thought I would just go back over it. So for me, expiration dates aren't big. Certain things, yes, but a lot of things, no, especially when it comes to shelf-stable dry goods. So the expiration date is just a best by date. So it's like, hey, we had to put this on in the company, like in the process at the factory, just so we didn't get in trouble, here, but it's just an idea of when it might go bad. So, and it's all going to depend on how it's stored, if it's stored properly in a cool place. and still, if you're rotating it, that's one of the biggest things. I feel like as long as you're rotating your stock and using it and then replenishing as you use it, you shouldn't have to worry about expiration dates at all in general. But like, hold on, I'll show you this. So I've had these dry beans in here. I actually have some in the crock pot right now for dinner, but I came in here to look and I was like, oh man, they're expired. Oh well. they're still fine. And this is I went back through. This is the only thing that's expired out of here because we rotate everything. But the beans, we're not huge pinto bean eaters. So I only bought 3 bags when I first started. So the 3 bags are still here just because we haven't ate them. But they're dry beans. You're going to wash them. You're cooking them. You're going to pick through and make sure there's nothing bad and there's no bugs, you know, like, because I store everything fine. So it says June 30th of 21. So it's a couple months out of date. It's fine. I'm not worried about it at all. We have it in a crock pot right now for my family to have for dinner. Same with canned goods. As long as your canned goods aren't rusted, aren't dented, still properly sealed, then it's totally fine. And honestly, you can still have a can of vegetables within the date still go bad. It all depends on how it's processed, how it's packaged, and sent to us. So canned goods I don't worry about. Dry goods, like dry pasta, I do not worry about that at all. It can be a year out of date and I would still use it. It's going to be totally fine. Mac and cheese, if it's a dry cheese, I would say it's fine. If it's like one of the liquid ones, I personally wouldn't use it. Maybe past like 4 months out of date, I probably wouldn't use it. And that's just because it's a liquid and it's easier to mold, you know? So if it's any dry item, then I wouldn't worry too much about it. So I think I touched on that. Okay, expiration dates. Okay, next is, what are the most important items to have in your pantry? So personally for us, for our family, and every family is gonna vary depending on what you eat and how many family members. But for us, I feel like it's important to have foods that you're gonna eat. Like I touched at that at the beginning. We're not gonna have canned chicken because we don't like canned chicken. So I feel like overall, the most important thing is to shop and stock what you eat. That's important. I think that's the most important thing because you don't want to waste your money, and you know, because it costs and food prices are going up right now. So you don't want to waste your money buying an item and it just sitting on your shelves because you don't use it, because you don't actually like it. Even in an emergency situation, like that canned chicken would be like the last thing that we would eat. And there's a lot of other options, you know, of proteins. There's a lot of different protein options. So you don't have to just have canned chicken, you know. So we have other options. So I think the number one most important thing to have in your pantry is food that your family is going to eat. Next, do we have a backup power supply? And if we have no power, what do we cook with? So this was a great question. I have touched on it a little bit. So no, right now we do not have a backup power supply because they're really expensive. We are working on saving, and that doesn't mean that we might get one, you know, anytime soon. But we are saving for one for the future. So if it happens and the power does go out, if we lose electricity, we will lose what's in our freezer and what's in our fridge. And I have talked about that before with, you know, that's unfortunate. I do have a full deep freeze, and I do have a full freezer and fridge in the kitchen. But in my head, that's the stuff I'm using right now. So when it comes to, like the whole stock up prepping thing, my main focus is dry food. Now before, say a few months ago, you know, like 5 or 6 months ago, when I first started, like really sitting down, doing research and figuring out what was best for my family, and like really buckling down and being truly, truly passionate about the whole prepper pantry thing, I would constantly be stocking food in the freezers. And I realized that, you know, yeah, we don't have a generator right now. And so unfortunately we would lose that food. Now, yeah, if you don't open it and close it and open and close it, it'll last like a couple days. But it's not going to be, you know, enough to actually keep everything till, you know, depending on how long your power how long it takes for your power to come back on. So the past few months, I have really been focusing on bringing in dry foods, because in case of that, in that situation, I can't depend on my freezer and fridge stock. I have to only depend on my dry food storage to feed my family. So you have to really sit down and think, like, yes, it's good to have freezer stock. I'm very blessed to have freezer stock. I absolutely love it. But that's the stuff that I'm focused on using day to day, like for meals now. And then in an emergency situation, that's my main goal right there. So that's been my main focus, is really bringing in the dry foods and everything right now. Because, you know, say we do like lose electricity for a month or so, what you got's what you got. So you got to think about that. If you sit down and think about how much food do you have right now in your house, just within your pantry, dry food only, not freezer, not fridge, how long would your family last? And like I said, it's not to scare you at all. It's not to scare you. It's to educate you on how important it is. How long could you feed your family? You know? And you really have to sit down and think about it, you know? Because that's what, before I was thinking about it as a whole. Like I did a video recently on the meals that I could make based on freezer, fridge, and pantry. I did my meals that I had all together. But when you take away your freezer and your fridge, how long can your family last? So no, we don't have a power source as of right now, but main focus is prepper pantry food. Okay, so next question. What do we have to cook with if there's no power? So for us, we have a charcoal grill, the Acorn grill. We have a charcoal grill. We always have charcoal. I always want to keep that stuff on hand. Lighters, matches, all that stuff. We have a Blackstone, a big Blackstone out back on the porch that runs off of propane. We always have propane. It's very important. And then we just recently bought a fire pit. And so we have fire pit and wood. So we can use that as like an oven. I'll have a link down below with the information on that, because there's a certain ratio on like what degree you want. Say like 375. You put like so many charcoal pieces on the top and around in the bottom. Like there's a whole science to that. I'll have that link down below, because we did that at the property when we camped last year and we stayed with our friends. He made this dish in this cast iron Dutch oven, and he turned it into an oven because he put the charcoal around the top and around the bottom, and it turned the heat from all the way around, turned it into an oven, and it was super cool. So I'll have a link to that down below if you're interested. And then we also have a little like camper Blackstone that like a camper size that also runs off the little containers of propane, and we have those as well. And then the last thing is we have a camping stove. It's just like, it's a little can of propane, and it has a little like dish thingy on it that holds your pot. So we have that. So we have several options in case we do, you know, in case we are with no power. We have several options to cook, and I'm not worried about that at all. As long as you keep your propane, and as long as you keep charcoal, matches, and all that, you should be good to go. Okay. So next one is, what is your biggest staple, most important thing when it comes to preparing? So I feel like like I said, my main focus has been food recently, especially showing videos on here. It's been Prepper Pantry just for food related. But I feel like overall, the most important thing is you need to think outside of just food. Like, yes, you need water for drinking and water for your food to cook, but you also need water to somehow bathe. You can heat it up, you know, dump it in the tub. You need enough water for that. You need enough water to brush your teeth, you know, kind of like rinse off or whatever, especially if you have kids. And then you also need to think outside of the food. Do you have medicine? Do you have first aid? Do you have a source of cooking? Because say you have a fully stocked pantry in your house, if you have no way of cooking, then there is no reason. No reason for you to even have stock up. Because if you can't cook what you have stocked, then you're just going to be opening up a can of green beans and eating them cold. So you got to think, make sure you go and get the camping stove. They're not that much. They're a little bitty. You know, you can store it in a tote somewhere. Make sure you think outside of that. Like, okay, I have food, but what do I need to cook the food? Or, you know, like different things. Like I've started stocking up on household items like toothpaste, toothbrushes, soap, shampoos. Like it doesn't have to just be food. You can have stock up outside of that. Have other stuff provided for your family. Make sure you have first aid. Make sure you have like ways for your family to stay warm. If you if you don't have power, of course. I feel like one of the biggest things is like having everybody sleep all together, because body heat's gonna, you know, from body heat to body heat. But do you have sleeping bags? You know, stuff that's gonna help you stay warm in case of the power. No electricity. So I feel like for me, the biggest staple is just thinking outside of the food. Make sure you, like, it's just all the way around. It's a big circle. Make sure you have the full circle. That's the only thing I can think of. Make sure you have the full circle in case of an emergency. So I think I answered everybody's questions. This is going to be a really long video, but if you have any other questions, definitely let me know in the comments down below. I have mentioned this before, but I have created this $5 stock up, and this is how I grew my Prepper Pantry for $5 a week. Now we are up to like $10 to $15 a week, just because we're really trying to bring food in here with the prices going up and everything. You know, trying to get extra stock. But this, at the beginning, when I first started all this, I did that for $5 a week. I was able to stock up, and, you know, it builds an amazing pantry on a budget. Those are available at my Etsy shop. If you're interested, I'll have that link listed in the description box below. So I hope I answered your questions. If you have any more questions, please let me know in the comments down below, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye, guys.